If you lump everything together and you try and test the whole thing, probably what's going to happen is that you're going to get really stressed out and then just give up altogether. What you need to do is to section it off and have very clear parameters around what it is that you're trying to test. And this is so you don't get confused with feedback that goes across the entire website or goes across the entire product, and it becomes this mess of feedback that you don't know what to do with. So you're basically trying to be quite organized and quite neat about it and say, I'm just going to test this specific section and then just work off of that.
Now there's only one template you need with this lesson, and it's a Google Doc. We're going to start with the site goals, tasks, and scenarios chunk.
Step one would be looking at your website or your product and figuring out what are the things that they can do or that you want them to do. So it will be good if you list all those ones out so that you have a really clear idea of all the different tasks or goals that you want these people to complete.
So for our example, our site goals might be around buying a product, contacting support, or signing up to a mailing list.
You know, you're not gonna test your FAQ page. You know, you're not gonna test your About Us page. Typically, this would be like your checkout process, or this would be your sign up and onboarding process. I would say 3 is a good amount to pick. If it's a really big task or something that requires a bit more time, you can do with 1 scenario or 2 scenarios. But anything more than 3 is gonna take quite a lot of time, and your user is probably gonna get a bit tired or a bit frustrated. So whatever it is that's really critical to the project or the business, that's probably what you want to test. So if you have a goal that you want your users to take, now you have to flip it around, turn it into a task so that they can go onto your website or your product or your app and then attempt to get to the end goal of that. If you're an e-commerce store selling baby stuff to new moms, the goal that you eventually want to get to is for these new moms to purchase a couple of things from your website for their new baby. So what you do is to ask them, can you purchase something for your newborn baby? And ideally, if they manage to get to the goal, it would be to eventually put something in a basket, check it out, make payment, and then you're done. So they've achieved the goal that you have set out because of the task that you've created for them. A task has to be simple, easy to remember, and actionable. It shouldn't be like a 15-step process that you can't keep track of. So once you've figured out what your important goals are and you've turned them into tasks for your users to try and complete, what you now need to do is to put a scenario around it. And a scenario is just putting some context behind that task, so it doesn't seem like something really random or something that they don't understand. If you give them a context, then it gives them all the information that they would need to then try and complete that task. So if the task that you want your user to complete is to purchase some diapers, a scenario that you can set is to say, you are running out of diapers, you need to get some as soon as you possibly can, purchase some diapers. Typically, a scenario is meant to be something that will happen in real life, something that you can very easily imagine and something that the users can relate to. On one end of the spectrum, you could make your task too specific. So it would be, you know, buy this specific set of diapers and have it delivered to you by tomorrow. And while it is very clear, it leaves no room for the tester to actually interact with your website and actually be able to get a good gauge to see what they would do in real life. On the flip side, you could make it too broad. You can just say, purchase something. And that leaves the tester with a whole lot of questions that they might have, a lot of different scenarios that might run through their head. So you have lost them basically to wonder what it is that they really should be doing. So neither of which are good. What you kind of want is something in the middle.
By now you should have your overall goals, some tasks and scenarios, which means that we can go and find some participants.
People tend to take too long and stress out a bit too much. I think, you know, it's whenever it's unfamiliar, you feel like you really need to get it right. The only thing is that you might waste a lot of time that you don't actually need to waste. I think you'll know if it's a good test or not once you actually test it with people and you see how they react. Straight away they go like, all right, cool, I can try to do that. But the surest way to know whether you get it right is to test it out.